back, everyone. Welcome to another episode of I Can Do This All Day. I'm Dan, the part-time Avenger. And with me, as always, is Mark, the resident Jedi.
Hello there. Today we're going to get into something that apparently a lot of people got into and have opinions. So we have opinions. We like to talk about things, especially things that have to do with Marvel or Star Wars. So new series hit the mark, hit the line. I don't know what it hit, but it hit Disney Plus, and that's The Acolyte. The final episode just dropped, so we're here to talk about it.
The Acolyte. So, as our nickname suggests, Mark is the Star Wars fan, and I'm. It's kind of gone back and forth throughout the episodes, but I would like to think that I'm a slightly above average Star Wars fan,
You dabble.
and I haven't really liked a whole lot of Star Wars recently. But the few things that I did watch, I was like, okay, cool. This is interesting. And I thought this could be interesting as well. So when I had heard about this, I was like, well, I guess we should watch this, right? I mean, are you interested in it? So I kind of gauged it off of your reaction as to what you think you might want to do. And since, we've watched a whole bunch of other stuff that is not necessarily on brand with our original thought process, we figured, you know what, let's give Star Wars a shot again. So were you excited about this? And just tell the listeners what you think about just the name The Acolyte and what it could have meant uh, prior to watching it.
I'll be candid. I did not like when this was announced along with a whole list of other things. I was much more excited for the other things. Like I've always found the dark side stuff that they've put out there to be murky at best, especially since they put Sidious in play for so long. Um, and a lot of there was a lot of legends stuff out there already about you know, the High Jedi times and all of that. There were a lot of great Sith characters. So them trying to get into the middle of it, wanted to see kind of how they did it, but I wanted the Rogue Squadron movie a lot more than I wanted this.
Yeah,
Um,
me too.
I was right there. But I'm not upset it's here. I watched it with immediacy when it was released, and I enjoyed it overall. I'd say that there's a really stark contrast to this that puzzles me a little bit because of the insane amount of back and forth from a review or rating perspective. Me as somebody who's enjoyed Star Wars forever, since I was a kid, grew up on the books and stuff, have dabbled in the comics, enjoy the expansion of lore. I got into it. I watched it, but man, when you look at some of the reactions or the reviews, I think that's nuts, right? And I brought the reviews just to talk to you about them because I know you love some reviews, especially some Rotten Tomatoes. And Rotten Tomatoes was the biggest, I think, like diametrically opposed groups that were polled, right? 80% from Rotten Tomatoes, but 17% from the audience team.
So before we go on to that, just I number one, I was shocked with the Rotten Tomatoes scores, but I had only seen a few different headlines. I think it was after like the first two episodes, and I just read the headline really quick, and I took myself out of it because I wanted to go into this with fresh eyes and unbiased opinions. And so that's where I was like, huh, I wonder where this hate is coming from because the first couple episodes I was okay with. I was fine with. I was interested to hear more where this is going, but that's kind of where I was at. And taking a look at the reviews, so we for IMDb, you've got 3.8 out of 10, which I really hold IMDb in high regard. And then Metacritic, once again, puzzling at 67. I think I just don't understand Metacritic's rating system, and I think it's just something that's not even comparable to IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes. But that audience score is very indicative of some of those headlines, right? Because those headlines are coming from somewhere, and it wasn't necessarily the critics because you got an 80% score. So I don't know.
There's so much hate about this, right? Like hate, 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 hate. So
The
much
haters
hate.
ball.
Oh man. I mean, it, it hate leads to suffering, and apparently people were suffering watching this. But I candidly, like, I was stoked. I watched the first few, and I told my wife, I'm like, I'll go back and watch this with you. I'm like, I'm cool with it. I think that it's pretty solid, you know? I mean, when you look at the plot of it, it's not meant to world build. It's meant to tell a story in an era with a group of people, right? It's a smaller where there are a vast amount of characters in the Star Wars universe. They focused on this group of four Jedi, right? This team that were on said planet and one event. And then the repercussions of that event. They weren't like zooming out to this whole giant thing. They did, I thought, a mini series in the way a mini series should be. Focus on the event, talk through the entire thing, and you have not a resolution, but a piece of lore that's complete and that can be built from. When you're doing this massive universe, like, I think that everybody's spoiled from an MCU perspective where all these things fit together like Lego bricks. And that's what they're having problems with now is things aren't fitting together, or if they can't build lore, they can only tell one story. So for me, the plot simply chugs along to tells the story of this encounter and introduce these characters in this world, in this area, right? And we move forward.
So my thought on the plot is the fact that we have not had a lot of consistent Star Wars material. And some of the other stuff that we have had that's been released on Disney Plus, they do go back to the well a little bit and bring up some of the references, some that I got, some that I did not get. And so I was really interested in seeing this, and I was very curious because, like, oh, so this is 100 years before, the Battle of Yavin. I think isn't that how they dictate what the timeline is instead of like, 2024 AD. It's
Yeah.
before the Battle of Yavin. Is that what that is? Is that kind of how they
Yes.
do it? I saw some like 100 BBY and I was like, what the fuck is that? And I was the nerd in me was like, before the Battle of Yavin? Is
No,
that
you're
am I
100%.
right?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. All right. Good deal
Look
for
at you.
me.
Look at you. Look at
Patting
you.
myself on the back. Who would have thought? Who would
Look
have
at
thought?
us. Look at us.
Um, and I was really interested because like, oh, this is going before. And so I had a little bit of like naysayer in me because like I don't need to know what's before that. I dig the Skywalkers and I'm okay with hearing about Rey Skywalker in the future, right? I'm okay with it. I'm not loving it. I'm not McDonald's, but I'm okay with it. So I was like, I don't really necessarily want to hear about this, but as I continue to watch the episode, like, oh, there's witches in this galaxy. Okay, all right, well, explain more. Let's unwind, or as you would say, let's peel back this onion if there is layers to this story. And so I was I want to like Star Wars, and that's the reasoning as to why I kind of kept an open mind for this. And as a Star Wars fan, I don't know if the story necessarily kind of pulled me in. You know what did pull me in? Trinity. Seeing Carrie Ann Moss as a Jedi doing a little bit of martial arts shit was awesome to see. And I just like her presence as an actress and in the roles that she plays. Even some of the other roles that, were kind of small, like Disturbia with Shia LaBeouf, like that it was okay for me.
Disturbia.
I'm okay with this stuff. And I just really like Trinity, Carrie Ann Moss, so like I'm for it. And the fact that you can combine it with Jedi doing martial arts shit, awesome. And then you've got Lee Jung Jae as Saul, who I knew from Squid Games. Like, pop quiz, did you know this or fun facts that he didn't even speak English when he was offered the role?
Yeah, no. Learned English specifically for this. And I'm going to say it loud. His performance was awesome. Nothing about it bothered me.
But nothing about it bothered me, but there are some. some things that I'll kind of talk about a little bit later on as we talk about the character itself. But dude, I'm excited for Squid Game season 2. I was like super geeked that he was in it, Trinity was in it, and when I saw a Wookiee Jedi, I was like, come on, really? Like, come
Yup.
on. Like this is
Yup.
like it was interesting. It was interesting. And then you got a meditating bald dude kind of like receding hairline. So
Yeah, I
I'll
mean,
forget about him.
he had a good reason to meditate. But in general, right? You've got those four Jedi, and they're interesting characters in and of themselves. But then you've got um Amanda Steinberg, who comes in as either May or Osha, depending on which scene, right? Really good on her for parent trapping this up, right? Being able to do both. You have a
Is
look.
it though? Is it really? I
What?
don't know. Like,
I
was she that great?
I don't think she was bad. Look
I
at
thought she was
Let's
like
take a minute. Let's take a minute and look at the actors that have played serious
wins.
roles in the Star Wars universe, right? I love Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill is not an amazing actor.
Voice actor, yes.
Yes, oh,
Actor,
amazing voice actor. Mark Hamill on the screen is as petulant and annoying as Hayden Christensen.
well, maybe. I'm not going to
But
disagree.
it's
Maybe.
okay. Like that's the it's not James Bond, right? You're not looking for suave and you want somebody kind of unpolished, kind of going through some things, kind of angsty. It's that discovery, that self-discovery moment that you want to feel from those characters. I liked her. I thought she did a great job. I think that too many people are ringing bells of anger for what? Like, what did she do that was terrible? It's a friggin' TV show.
Is that where all the headlines came from? Is it really just her and like the fact that there was a black woman in a lead role? Is that what it is? Or
Let's get to the controversy in a few minutes. I think that she got hateration for maybe for her acting skills. I don't know. I saw nothing wrong with what she put out there. And I mean, everybody complains about women in leading roles for some reason now. Like like Star Wars didn't start with the woman in the leading role leading the men through the Death Star at the Battle of Yavin. That wasn't a thing, right? Princess Leia, totally not the fucking leader of that motley crew of people. No, that didn't happen. Of course, like the whole key to the entire thing was Carrie Fisher, but people just can't have you can't have a female lead character in Star Wars, even though it started with a female lead character.
yeah, fair enough. And I tried to, like I said, not read the headlines. I guess I probably should have and just in prep for this episode. But you know what? Fuck
I
them.
brought some headlines, man. We're good.
Okay. Oh, hey,
We're
all right,
good.
cool, cool. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at for the main cast that I saw like right away, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have an issue with the main character, Osha or May. I did think that, man, kids are annoying even in a galaxy far, far away. So that's kind of where it was for me. So
Yeah, no, yeah. I'm glad your kids listen to this podcast too, by the way.
hey, they know that they're not like May and Osha.
Don't be like this. Watch this and don't do it.
Yeah, they got to learn
Uh,
somehow,
don't start fires.
right? Jesus.
Don't play with matches. Man.
Oh my
Um,
God.
how'd you feel about the action in this? You are a big action guy. We talked people, we talked plot, but let's be honest. If Dan doesn't like the action, our listeners know that you will disengage from the entire movie. You will disassociate.
Not necessarily, but there is a slight degree of correctness in your statement. I'll definitely hold it against the movie. I won't completely disengage, but sure enough, I'll be like, hey, if you're gonna shoot action, shoot action. Don't shoot something that is intended to be action and it's just sloppy and fast cut, can't see anything. So that's kind of where I'm at for that stuff. But action was pretty good, man. I mean, the fact that they were bringing in some martial arts into Star Wars, which I don't think that they have in the past, besides like, kendo with lightsaber fighting and everything, but I don't think I've seen anything like that, have I? Besides like Donnie Yen doing some samurai shit.
I mean, you really haven't seen High Republic Jedi. You've seen old ass Obi-Wan, you've seen Robo Darth Vader, and you've seen Mark Hamill, right? Yeah, I guess you've seen like the Anakin and Obi-Wan prequels fighting, which was pretty decent, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the Darth Maul battles, the battle with Sidious in the Clone Wars movies, those were good lightsaber fights, but you've never seen like non-headline characters who can't die or get hurt, like
Yeah.
unless it's that exact moment. Like you've never seen kind of grunt work at
But
this level.
I was just talking about even just like the martial arts incorporation aspect of it. You know what I mean? Like hand to hand type of that type of fighting, as opposed to like everything with a lightsaber and a kick to kind of push someone off.
Yeah, they haven't gotten fully physical like that before now.
Yeah. Donnie Yen in Rogue One,
Yeah.
yes. I stand corrected in my own statement, but yes, we
Mhm.
have seen that a little bit before. But here is like you've got, like you said, the high ranking officials and the Jedis that are actually doing it. So I'm all for it. I'm good with the action so far.
I really enjoyed like seeing a dark side character that is that level of intense and dangerous in the action scenes was awesome. Like you got to see Vader in a hallway in Rogue One, but never got to see Vader really like be the Vader that we think he should be, or that the stories tell us. Sidious, whatever. Like there were
Nah.
some spinnies
Yeah.
and thing. It is what it is. Like that's fine. The animated stuff. There were some good fights with Inquisitors and Maul. The first Maul fight in Episode 1 was amazing, right? But when you look at this is what Kylo Ren should have been in 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 uh in the sequels. If he was
So
as trained, as dangerous as he was supposed to be, like stopping laser bolts with the Force, like if he was that attuned, that just looked like two kids fighting with like the lightsaber battles in the sequels looked like two kids fighting with like the inside of wrapping paper, right? The wrapping
yeah.
paper sticks. Like there was
I've seen a
no quality.
I've seen a few clips where they compare some of the older lightsaber scenes to like the newer ones, like the prequels to the sequels, even some of the TV shows. But so I want to back up a little bit to Kylo Ren. So I want to ask you, was Kylo Ren a Sith?
That's debatable.
So I just read something. I just assumed that he was. I read something that he was not a Sith. Do you agree? Disagree?
Who am I? Who am I to
The
do that?
resident Jedi. The
Yeah,
resident
I
Jedi
know.
with
I
an opinion.
understand that. I understand you want to hear my opinion. My opinion is Sith or Jedi doesn't exist in that world anymore because there's not people that he didn't have like a direct master, right? He had Snoke and influence. So
So
I
Snoke
think that,
wasn't his master?
I mean, obviously Snoke was a meat puppet, right?
Yeah, but I thought that he was. I don't know. Maybe I'm just assuming, like from watching that initial. Maybe I have to rewatch them because I just assumed that Snoke was his master.
Based on what we've seen from this show, I would call Kylo Ren an acolyte because if Sidious was there and Snoke was the go-between, then Kylo's an acolyte.
Okay, I don't. I'm okay with that. I'm
But
okay with
Kylo
that.
doesn't, it isn't like seeking an apprentice or anything like that. Like that's the part of it that's different for me.
He was seeking someone to rule the galaxy with him, which was Rey. So is that not kind of the same?
Is it?
I think a person just wants to have an apprentice and a partner, and
Everybody
sometimes
wants a Padawan.
sometimes it gets lonely out there. So I mean, and keep in mind this was a galaxy far, far away a long time ago. Tinder wasn't even invented yet,
Mm,
so they needed to do weird stuff like force skyping to each other.
that's at least she met his, or at least she met his parents.
At least you got to see him with a shirt off.
Oh, I'm sad that we
But
did too.
anyways, speaking of shirt off, so Manny Jacinto, who plays is it Chimera? I don't even remember this guy's name even being said. Is that his name?
Oh, the I
They never said his name, right? I don't think they did.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they said his like Sith name. They may have like used his Kamir might have been his disguise name.
Oh,
But
maybe you're right.
yeah.
But speaking of shirts off, dude, that guy is fucking shredded. And so good for whoever did the casting. Like the fact that you're getting a badass that looks the part, that probably had plenty of women and men alike just fucking thirsting after that guy. I didn't even realize that he was in one of your favorite movies, Top Gun Maverick, but his
Ooh.
part got drastically cut down.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't know. I didn't either. Um, but I just liked him. I liked the I liked what he put together for that role. I dug the flip switch on it, using that like as a throwback to Sidious, right? Palpatine and Sidious, the flip, the personality flip, the being there with the Jedi. I thought the story was good. Like I enjoyed the journey that it took us on, and I thought that they had, strong actors throughout. Um, so, but him in an action sequence, um, the fight in the forest was by far like I was so stoked for that.
So I've got a awesome action sequence, right? And I forgot to mention, and we were just focusing on like the four Jedi, but we have another Marvel Fox tie-in, and that's X-23, Daphne Keene as one of the Padawans, which was really cool to see. But yep, she got Wolverine herself, three
Yeah,
lightsaber holes throughout her entire body. So
she did.
impaled, she is gone. But it was cool to see her. And I was like, man, she looks really familiar. And then I realized that that was her. And I saw her practicing some lightsaber routines on Instagram, which was really sweet. So who knows? Maybe we'll see her in the Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Who knows? But it was cool to see her in Star Wars.
Yeah, there was a lot of solid pulls in there, and that's the thing that I've liked about the more the Star Wars stuff they put out is they've brought in people that are solid, solid stunt performers, solid everything. Um, I don't understand the hate with this because it's just a story.
Before we get on to the hate, what did you think about the music?
I really enjoy Michael Albies because the the themes and the use was very Williams-esque to me, right? Respected what was going on, but it never took me out of it. I was never like, what is this music? Never. What about you? You're a big music guy. There was no popular music in this, which you should have been.
Wrong. Incorrect.
What?
What do you mean? What?
Where did I miss
Did
the
you not?
popular
You
music?
must not have listened to some of the songs in the credits that they were going full music video. The music was good. The music was good. I was more curious as to what you would have thought, but apparently you didn't watch the credits or anything. You
I
just
don't watch the
completely
credits on
skipped.
Disney Plus because they're so long. If
It
there's not
was
a credit scene, I let her go.
I was listening to the lyrics, and I might be incorrect, but I'm pretty sure there was a song with lyrics in one of the episodes, but it might have been in the credits too. But there's at least two instances where there were
Mhm.
songs with lyrics in it, and good songs. I was just like kind of a little bit surprised. Like, wait a second, is this Star Wars is doing this? Like, what the hell's going on? And I don't know. I had mixed feelings on that. I think it's cool to bring in songs that make sense that are fitting the tone, and those songs did. Even the lyrics fit as to what the theme was for the show. But I have no problems. Music didn't, it didn't take me out of it. It caught me a little bit by surprise by hearing lyrics, but I was cool with it. It was fine. A rarity in some cases, but the lyrics were kind of no or right on the nose for what it was trying to do.
Yeah, I didn't even notice. Honestly, I dug the feel. He did like Get Out and Nope. He's done all the Jordan Peele movies, so the suspense building worked for me, especially with the subject matter and the characters that you had going here. So it worked for me there. I
Okay.
just I didn't even notice the lyrics, but good on you, man. Good on you.
Yeah.
I was still stoked on all the lightsabering.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, you wanted to get to the controversy. I just wanted to make sure we talked about the music just because that is an important piece, and I think it did add to the elements. But let's talk about the controversial, alleged controversial things. But with diversity and representation. So apparently, some fans that criticize the series for its focus on diversity and representation, leading to like just review bombing for everything, and that's kind of where you see it on Rotten Tomatoes at 17%. But uh, like you said before, Star Wars has kind of always had strong female characters. So where do you think that there's validity in that statement?
I, I just I don't get it. I don't understand how like people in a when you're talking about a galaxy worth of characters that all the characters have to look the same. Like I don't get that. I also don't get the non-female lead piece. That the first one doesn't make sense to me and is, like I discount those people who are just like, no, we can't, no. Like, yeah, I enjoy the fact that they just introduce new and new and new or utilize other, species that have been introduced or flip the Wookiee Jedi out there, stuff like that. Like I'm like, do it. Let's go. I want to see these people in new and different roles, but the female lead part, I don't get it. Like there were strong female Jedi in the prequels as well.
So I'll play devil's advocate here, and I'll go on the side of, or at least try to understand and provide like a view of their opinions. And uh, there has been, I think, just nonstop lead female characters in every Star Wars iteration since the prequel trilogy or the sequel trilogy. And like at the forefront, like you can say the prequels, yeah, you had Padme, but she wasn't the lead, right? You had Obi-Wan and Anakin, there's the leads kind of playing off of each other. But I think now I can kind of see where people are saying, like, gosh, I'm not saying it's right, but this is where you see lead female character, lead female character, lead female character. And that's where their complaint is because, they want to see like Jeb Skywalker, some type of relation to Luke or something like that, like some long lost cousin. So I think that's where some
Which,
people can
but are you
say
just talking about Rey?
you got
Like,
Rey, you
right?
got Ahsoka, you've got May and Osha in this one. You've got, oh gosh, what was it in Tales of the Empire? I can't remember what their names were, but they're like all female characters is the main
Uh-huh.
points of it. So I can kind of see and understand where some people could have a case against it. I'm not I'm not for that.
Yeah, I've
I
got to. So I hear you, but there's also been Andor, which focused around a bunch of male characters. Mon Mothma was just a carryover character from the original trilogy,
sure.
right? They did an Obi-Wan that featured Obi-Wan, Leia, and Vader. Like, can't get away from the Leia in that. Um, Mandalorian, not a woman. He is not a woman because they added Bo-Katan, which is Bo-Katan and Ahsoka, both characters from the Clone Wars, which was an Anakin Obi-Wan centric, clones centric show, right? Ahsoka was Anakin's Padawan, so you're bringing in the Skywalker connection there.
Yeah. But I
Um,
mean, in Ahsoka, you've got Sabine, Ahsoka, and gosh, Mary Elizabeth
Hera,
Winstead's character's name, Hera. Yeah. So
Hera,
I get it because there's a lot of female presence in the stuff, and you can't forget about Jin in Rogue One. So uh, I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that I can understand why people are talking about, like, if they had a qualm with, oh, all this female representation. I don't know why you have a qualm with it, but let's just, for the benefit of the argument, like I can see because it is kind of a little bit lopsided. But hey, it was kind of lopsided before, for pretty much everything else in Hollywood. So, I mean, do you need to complain about it? I don't think you need to. But do I understand it? And the hypocrisy in me can totally understand where that other side of the argument's coming from.
yeah. I mean, when the world is split almost 50-50, like um maybe we should just do the same with characters and things,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. But it's not 50-50. That's the point. It's there since the Disney Star Wars era has begun, it's been heavily female. So
I
I don't
mean,
know. Like I said,
for
I don't
every Ray,
care.
you had Finn and oh my God, why can't I remember the pilot's name?
Poe,
Oh,
Finn
yeah.
and Poe turned out to be bitches in the end. Let's be real. Like Poe was a badass. That like you had the almost like Han Solo wit to him, but at the end he gave up. He's like, sorry guys, no one came to answer Leia's call, and then he's like, I give up. And it's like waiting to get him blown up, and then all of a sudden,
Mhm.
Lando and Wedge and everyone else comes to save the day.
Yeah,
But no,
all the guys show up,
yeah.
right? No, none of those were female. None of them.
But once again, you have Poe that was supposed to be like this badass rebel, and he's like, I give up. I give up. I'm gonna go
That's
make
just because
Triple
that movie
Frontier.
wasn't very good.
Well, yeah, I sure, sure. But Finn, once again, they pulled him back. He was supposed to be a Jedi from the rumor mill that was he was supposed to be like part of that, and they never explored it with him. So yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
It's I don't understand like for me, somebody who grew up on this and Star Trek and all of the sci-fi that just, was inclusive, like the Next Generation and stuff like that. I just don't get it. Like just do it for the story. That's what I really enjoyed, right? And even as they did tie-ins to the rest of the Star Wars universe, there was so much controversy about canon, what is and what isn't. That is so frustrating.
I
As
don't even
somebody
know
who
what's
wants to,
canon.
well,
So that's why I was like, whatever, let's just roll with this.
it's complex, right? It's complex because when Disney bought Star Wars, and you know this, I think you know this, right? There was already like a library full of Star Wars books, novels, all of the things. So Disney said, these are great, but now they're legends. We're going to take them off the table. We're going to make them more rumory. Y'all still love them. That's fine. But we're going to restart around the movies and let it branch out from there because there's more stories we want to be able to tell. Because all of the stories had been told. There was a substantial amount of post BBY, right, out there and pre BBY that was built out.
Big beautiful Yavins, is that what
That's it, baby.
they're called?
Um, but as a fan, of course you're attached to that content. So you're frustrated. You're like, no, I've read this when I was a kid. I want my kids to read it. I want to talk about it. You still can. It's there. It's legends. Legends, are real or not. It is what it is. It's all fiction either way, right? And they restarted to be able to utilize the universe. And and tell more stories and give you what you want, essentially, in more Star Wars. So, as they've brought different characters into different projects, this one came under fire really big, right? One of the first ones was in the first few episodes, there was a Jedi that they showed, um, Coady Mundi. He was in the prequels. He was in the Jedi chamber when he was like, the Sith haven't been seen in nearly a millennia, right? And everybody's like, he said that. He said that. And now they're here. He knew about it. And it's, did he know about it? Did he not know about it? I don't know. But I like the idea that they brought him in just because it emphasizes, as you watch the show, the cover up portion of it, right? Because what's the point of the show? What are we trying to show in this Acolyte, right? We're trying to
That the
show the
Jedi suck ass and they're a bunch of
we're
lying
trying to show
politicians.
the erosion of quality and uh, um the political nature that eroded this foundation of the Republic. That's the cool part about Andor, is all the politics behind it. You get to see the behind the scenes. And I think that this shows how the Jedi broke into sects, how there were pockets within. It's not a perfect system because life isn't a perfect system, right? There's no perfect system of people who, give their time and give up themselves to a higher power. Like, they're not, I mean, they're monks or priests, and there's fucked up shit there too, right? So you just got to let it, it's cool to see the human side of it, because down the road that this is all going to shit. That the Jedi failed because of hubris and insulation of information and just all of the things.
I
So
guess
this is
that
the
just
start of that.
I guess that just proves to me that like what's the point of it? You know, like if you know that it all goes to shit, do you really need to have this backstory of virgins or whatever the fuck they're talking about? Like, does this really matter? And why does it matter? And who is this really for? And do we need a second season? Because they're definitely teeing it up for a second season. I don't know. That's like the whole canon breaking stuff. Like, okay, so Kiadi Mundi, whatever. It sounds like someone from Roots, but I just I don't care and I don't know who that is, so it doesn't bother me as a average fan. Um, but then like what about Darth Plagueis? So like tell me a little bit about what your thoughts of that was and was it like a world breaker for you? It was like what the hell are they doing in this?
So one, the Plagueis thing isn't like confirmed. It might be by the time this episode comes out. I don't know. But they showed a figure in the shadows
It is
in
Plagueis.
the Sith. Okay, well, either way, they've so if that's Plagueis, great. He's already in power and he lived for a super long time. So he's the one training the next person, right? Trying to influence around. That was happening already in the prequels, right? Plagueis trained Sidious, who then got Tyrannus and begat Maul, begat all these people, right? The Sith have always been trying to do that.
Wait, where did Palpatine fall into that lineup then?
Palpatine was Plagueis's apprentice. So sometime in between the Acolyte and the Phantom Menace, Palpatine and Plagueis come together.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, just curious because like you said some other name like Plagueis and Tyrannosaurus Rex or
Tyrannus
whatever. Like,
was Count Dooku. Darth
oh,
Tyranus.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Sorry, I knew him by Dooku. I don't know. That's just
Hey man, you do you.
my. um. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool. I was a little bit bummed that they did not explore anything else with that because this is the thing that just kind of bothers me is that like you always knew that there was the Jedi and the Sith, right? Or the light side of the Force, dark side of the Force.
Hmm.
And I guess I really like Manny Jacinto's character. I was like, oh, this could go somewhere. But he isn't necessarily the same path of a Sith, right? Like, I don't know if I necessarily agree that he is just full out dark side. I think he just doesn't like the Jedi and what it stands
Well,
for. He was
he's a
wronged.
fallen Jedi, apparently, right?
Right.
That
So
that in and of itself is awesome to me. That is a standard path, and you've got Sidious bringing people in. Is he an apprentice? Is he not? He says he wants the rule of two, which is the Sith code.
mhm.
Um, so is he really trying to, you know, garner his master's favor or be accepted as a Sith Lord? Like that's so that's compelling to me. I like it. I'm tying in more, man. I remember like listening to the Plagueis book years ago and thought it was cool. I'm not sure if that's Legends now or not, but there was a book like a Plagueis and Palpatine or the early years book. Um, but I don't care that they brought in Plagueis. I'm good because more Sith the better. There's some really cool like Sith characters that they've put out there through the years that we haven't seen on film. I dig it. It was the same thing at the end of Ahsoka where they're gleaning towards this all-powerful evil character that they were trying to pursue to release. I'm like, good, do that. We need more than just Darth Vader and Palpatine. Let's get a rogues gallery together.
I think we need more than just two. I think that rule is fucking stupid
Well,
because, and don't come after me, all the Lucas purists and all that stuff, but I totally understand why. Actually, I don't understand. So, whatever. But you're going to rule the galaxy, two people. I'll show you five, at least five people that at least rebel against that. And, like the odds are against you already. But, uh, sure, you might end up like the Jedi did in that forest, but at the same time, like I've seen so many like little clips of I don't know, I think it's one of the EA Sports uh or EA Star Wars games where they have like a 3-on-3 Jedi battle of like, light side versus dark side. Like that, I would love to fucking see that. I would love to see like 20 on 20. That would be badass. It's just like a battle royal of Sith versus Jedi or whatever else you want to throw in there. Whether they're fallen Jedi, gray Jedis, whatever. And for all those people that came at us in the comments of, like a Star Wars post way back where it's like there is no gray Jedi. It's either the light side of the Force or the dark side of the Force. Like, guess what? It's out there. And I'll say it again on the podcast. Bring in some gray Jedi. It's arguable and debatable that there have been a gray Jedi in our current instance of Disney Plus shows anyway. So whatever. I
I
don't know.
uh I have nothing to say on
Just
that.
like a Jedi. Just like a Jedi to stay out of it. And uh I'm here for the real stuff. Let's talk about
Here
the
for the real stuff.
controversial stuff that is out there.
Well, there's one more cameo that I was most disappointed in because I don't understand how you bring it in is the Yoda thing at the end.
I
And maybe that's not
thought
Yoda, but it's probably Yoda.
it's Yoda. Come on. But I was thinking to myself, like, for some reason I thought it was 1,000 years before Big Beautiful Yavin.
Mm-mm.
And so I thought, like, oh, this doesn't make any sense at all because he's not 1,000 years old. But then I went back and saw it's only 100. So okay, cool. Uh he must have matured around year 400 and you know became a master in his own right around that time frame. But yeah, I it was cool to see, but that just made me think like, oh, there's gonna be more.
I
Is
mean,
is this gonna be viable? Like, are we actually gonna get more, or is this gonna be like, sorry, season two is not coming out. We're gonna focus on the movies.
see, I would be all for more. I like Star Wars as a it- I liked this specific one because it told the story of an event and the repercussions of the event, the backstory of the event. You know, they did it in two different time frames. You know, there was a lot of mixed reception when it came to critics and people talking about um pacing and narrative and things like that because it didn't go in full on time order, right? It wasn't just paced that way, and I'm fine with that because I like the extra context it gives you. You see an event and then you hear the backstory about it, so you get a different view on it. I think it makes it more rewatchable. It makes you revisit it a little bit. You stream it more, which is great for Disney. But I just enjoy that as a tentpole event now, right? Like the slaughter of the witches, right? That was a thing. Now, um, but I've got to say that I would watch more as long as you didn't leave it fucking open ended.
I mean, that's
Like,
pretty open ended at the end,
but it's
right?
not. It's like we can plug the next story in, right? Um, which is then you dig into you can dig it the open endedness there forces you to go multi season or more as opposed to just one, right? If you attack this again, you have to account for all of these tied ends you did out there, right? You have to account for the fact that we saw Coyote Mooney. You've got to account for Yoda. You've got to account for Plagueis. You've got to take it forward with all of those strings, like they did in The Mandalorian, which I thought they did very well. You saw these cameos by these characters in The Mandalorian, like Ahsoka, like Bo Katan, like Boba Fett. You saw that, and then they kept going with it or bringing it to a movie. That's cool for me, but that's the challenge that they're up against, right? It's is this going to be a mini series and we're taking it like Werewolf? What was the Werewolf at Midnight? What's
Werewolf
the
by
Marvel
Night.
one? Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf.
We're doing it as this. This is it. It's this. Enjoy it. It's like a movie that it's not meant to be. It's just this is this thing. It exists in this world. Enjoy it.
Wait, but you're not saying that this is like a, so you're not thinking this is a cliffhanger?
It could or it
Because
couldn't be.
it absolutely is. Like
It
I will be your apprentice. All right, we just spent 7 episodes, like thinking that you were a good person and wanted to be the Jedi, and now you're the bad person, and now your sister doesn't remember shit. I don't know. Or I'm
we we
sorry,
spent
you
we
don't
spent
remember shit because they're the same person.
we spent 7 episodes seeing something we had not been able to see before. The folly of the Jedi leading astray those indoctrined to the dark side. We saw the full fall from
Of a couple
Padawan,
people, a few people.
but we saw Osha's journey, right? From Padawan and bought in and ready to go all the way to Red Lightsaber and killing her master, which
Did
that in and
you
of itself has gotten so much hate that is unfathomable.
I thought that's how the kyber crystals worked. I thought there was like some type of bond with the person because don't they pick it
It's
out themselves?
so yes. Um, the Jedi process for kyber crystals is they go to this planet, they find their kyber crystal. It's been done in Clone Wars and a few games as
Okay.
well. But the Sith process is you have to take from a Jedi, right, and usually kill that Jedi, and then you have to bleed the kyber crystal, which was only shown from a Vader perspective in comics,
Mm.
and Vader struggled with it, and everybody's like, hers can't turn that easy. It was he worked all this stuff, and it's just like I think that because of the immediacy of the turn and them seeing it in person and seeing it change, they're just like, well, that can't be that fast. That can't happen. Instead of looking at the gravity of the situation where Vader killed a random Jedi after killing all these temple, folks, like Vader had to focus on the negative. Everybody's like, oh, well, his saber should have changed when he was killing all the younglings at the Jedi temple. And the thing about it, as far as I understand it, is it's not supposed to be his. It's supposed to be one that's taken, a
Okay.
kyber taken from another, and then the negative energy changes it. It bleeds it, right? And she took her master's saber, this person that she trusted and loved, and he felt the same way, and wielded it against him, ultimately killing him with the force. I'm okay with it. Like it worked for me. I was stoked to see it. And I wasn't like fact checking people. And that's the frustration for me, right? The critical reception around pacing and building, but also the high expectations that people put on this. Like this is not like art isn't something that can be kept in a box and only brought out with specific instructions. Like you got to let it breathe a little bit. If people were so pissed about that, they should have really rebelled at the Infinity Saga not having Adam Warlock in it, because he was the main friggin' character. So that's the thing that I don't get sometimes, is especially about Star Wars, is people hide behind this canon thing and their expectations are up here, but it's not George Lucas anymore. It's not 1978. It's
Yeah.
a
Deal with it.
different world, man.
Right?
Things change. You're getting good TV, good content. You're getting Star Wars. Enjoy it. As somebody who's not as tuned in and dialed in and hasn't watched everything, did you feel like it disappointed you from that realm? Like, are you on team, oh, this was terrible? Or are you more, I liked it, it wasn't bad?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it was terrible. So I'll go as far to say that, in the sense that, like, anyone who says that it's terrible has never watched a shitty TV show before. And if you did watch the TV show and it was terrible, you didn't watch 8 episodes of it.
Yeah.
You watched 10 minutes of it and you were done. And maybe there are some people out there that watch 10 minutes and it's like, yep, not my Star Wars. Like, okay, fine. That's fine. But at the same time, this is a different story, different time, different group of characters. If you have a problem within the characters, that's totally viable and I can understand. But I am not as much of a Luke Skywalker fan that I am. I wasn't looking for Luke. I was looking for something different, something badass, some new Force users. I was looking for some badass Jedi, which I did get. It was great to see Carry-On Moss and like a Jedi Wookiee whoop the shit out of some people. So that was pretty sweet.
Yo.
So I'm okay with it. I am perfectly fine with it. There are some qualms that I do have with a little bit of the pacing, because I felt like there was too much time spent on the backstory of Osha and May, that it just didn't give enough for it. Because, and I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to do like a slower type of peeling back of the onion, as you would say, and I get that. But honestly, after episode 7, I thought that the series was done. I thought the season was over. I was like, oh, okay, so they just freaking lied. All right, well, there we go. That's it. And I would have been okay with that ending. Um, I wouldn't necessarily have liked it to end that way, but I I'm perfectly fine with, like, yeah, Jedi kind of suck. And every little instance I saw, like, well, Soul's a pretty good guy. Seems like everyone else is a piece of shit, but Soul's pretty good. He cares for these characters, and you know what? I still don't think he's that bad of a guy. I really don't. I don't think that he was in the wrong for trying to protect some kids, or one of the kids, I should say. But I don't know. Am I the bad guy? Maybe.
I think that this is a great, it's awesome to see them display the challenge that it is to live in that world, right? To be a Jedi. It's not just up, I'm here, Jedi Master. I make all the right decisions. What are you talking about? I have no attachments. But to see those in the ranks that are knights, that are new knights, old knights, right? Those that are trying to
Baywatch
find
nights.
their own path, right? All of it. Um, but it for real. Um, I want to slow mo run real quick, but for real, it's wild that people are so angry that there's an imperfectness there, like a humanity that's being added that like why aren't we celebrating this and making it okay to it's not just remove all attachment and move forward, but people struggle. And that struggle is the whole crux of the Star Wars universe, right? In Anakin, the struggle to give up, the struggle to not feel those things was the imperfection in their biggest character in Anakin and Vader, right? Being able to not give up, not feel for his mother, not lose attachment. He wasn't the only Jedi that was dealing with that, right? It gives you
Yeah.
that, not alone feeling in a way. And people are so angry about that. And I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm sure the comments will tell me all about how I should get it and how I'm not a real Star Wars fan. But whatever.
I
They
can al
can all
they can what?
leave
What?
comments. They can all leave comments
Oh, okay. All right.
because I'm
I can already
surely
just
going to
like
read them.
pretend I can almost like anticipate what some of those comments will be like.
I
So
hear
you're
the
telling
clap.
me
I hear the keyboards now, like echoing
uh
from the basements of their moms.
yeah, but oh well. But yeah, that's just kind of where I think about it. Like I think overall the Jedi I am once again I think I might I don't know if I'm necessarily team Sith, but I'm definitely more of a Sith sympathizer now because I really feel like the Jedi just kind of suck.
Well, I mean, it's the imperfection of perfection, right? It's
Yeah.
do you hold yourself to too high of a standard to be realistic? Like what it's the reason for checks and balances in democracy, right?
Hey man, if you're talking about politics right now, there's no such thing as a two-party system. It shouldn't be a
Oh,
two-party system. I'm
oh,
just saying it. That's how I'm throwing it out there.
I'm with you.
And so I'm just talking about politics for Star Wars.
Hmm.
So I don't think there's just a light side and a dark side. I think there's a little bit in between and some other stuff. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where the comments will come in.
Oh, here we
So there
go.
we go.
Here we go.
Can't let you take all the heat, right?
Red lightsabers, red hats, and a lot of angry comments.
Oh my gosh.
I think that the only other controversy that I can talk to here was people's praise or criticism of the fight scenes on how they didn't. This doesn't fit, or this seems extreme, or why is it so much? Why are they so overmatched? And I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the way that the fight scenes kind of gave the helpless feel for the Jedi in this, right? The excessive overmatch of this character who was so committed to the Sith in that way. Like he just was there. And I don't care what anybody says. I loved that his helmet shut off lightsabers. I loved that that was just a new thing. I was game for it. Like let's go.
Yeah.
Let's
I was
go.
okay with it. I was okay with it. I could see why some people would be pissed about that because like, well, why doesn't everyone just have armor like that? But I mean,
Why doesn't
whatever.
everybody have Beskar?
Whatever.
Like same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. Like shut up. Honestly, best helmet like Kylo Ren's helmet should have been like that. Like
Yeah, right?
like they're just doing things better
Did
than
did
we're
they
done.
even know about it though? That's the thing that's just like
I
uh
I think that it had a name and it was talked about at some point in Legends or something like that. Like it was a referenced thing. That's the way with Star Wars. Like there's so
they
much content that it's referenced at some point.
they should have just put in like a throwaway line, like this is a very rare material that not many people are aware of what it does. And then that's it. That's problem solved for all the iterations,
Yeah,
100 years later after Big Beautiful Yavin.
100 years. 100 years. Weird Star Wars medals, 100 years.
Yeah.
Um yeah, no, I honestly like a lot of the hate with this. I don't understand because the Sith characters in this were what I wanted in the sequel series. Like if Kylo Ren was this guy, oh, come on.
Like a badass. Like, yeah, that'd be cool.
Just a, like it, because we hadn't seen Star Wars for so long, we thought that he looked really great and was very intimidating. Now that we've seen this guy versus that, like, are you joking?
Yeah.
He would have
I
just owned Kylo Ren, like
but you
just destroyed him.
you could also see his perspective of things, right? Because he wasn't just like a complete like salty prick like Palpatine, like Palpatine's like, yeah, I feel the hate, blah, blah, blah. No, he's just a normal dude talking. It's like, hey, can I put my robe on if you're not going to join me? Like, well, we can talk about this a little bit later. Like, that's the realness that I'm cool with because yeah, do you expect everyone to be like this noble person like, for Jedi? No, and we've seen it. There's not a lot of them not so noble and some of them are a little bit more ruthless than others or careless than others. And then for the Sith, like they don't need to be like just a bunch of old decrepit dudes. Like you've got this young guy that is skilled and he's like physically imposing and he can be deceiving. Guess what? Kind of like a bad guy should be. So I'm all
Mhm.
for it.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the characters. I would not mind another season. My only concern is it's got to be another full story. Like that's what we need. And that's the really cool part about this for me. And that's why I enjoy it. It's very Rogue One to me where it fills the space for a full story. Sure they could add on to the front and the back of it, but it fills the space. And that's what Rogue One did. I was so anti Rogue One when they announced it. Like what we know. What are you gonna we know where it ends.
Yeah, right.
Like what's gonna happen. And they ended it literally where it ends. Like in the best possible way. They ended that movie. Rogue One is definitely one of the top 5 best Star Wars things ever, right? In my opinion. But like this can just be and we can just appreciate it. And I think that when Star Wars properties are new, they get a lot of hate. And then as they age, they become more respected. And I think over time, this holds up. In my opinion, it
Okay.
holds up.
So like if we were to talk about kind of like where does this fit in with like the other Star Wars projects and TV shows? Like where do you think it lies?
I mean, for me, I like this at the level of like a Mando or an Obi-Wan or an Andor. Like it was impressive for me. An Obi-Wan's probably higher on my list than it, for most people because I just really enjoy Ewan McGregor in that role and that whole thing was really great for me. I think it's better than Book of Boba Fett. I love me some Boba Fett, and I love that they Patton Oswalt that thing and gave you him crawling out of the Sarlacc pit, like and taking over Tatooine. But I really like that show was not great for me. I love that it has the spice of politics with it as well, like Andor did. But I would say that it's right in that wheelhouse. Ahsoka, I loved, but also TBD. I need a little bit more on that story. It didn't resolve the story, and that's the part that frustrated me. I needed they found the people. They did the Blues Brothers thing at the front end, but now they need the back end of it. And I know they're bringing it all together in a movie, and that's fine. Like we'll get that supposedly, but
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know that.
as far as individual things, like I think it's there. I think it's some of the better things we've gotten. It's definitely better than the sequel trilogy because that story dragged on for so many times that they had to bring Harrison Ford back again, just because oh my god, we need somebody to be excited about something. So yeah, I don't know. What about you? As a non you know, as a non on the mountaintop Star Wars person, as a casual, where are you at?
It's funny that you say that they close the loop for the story. And I forget what you said exactly, but you said like the story was complete, it was contained. Like I don't think that at all. I don't think the story was contained whatsoever. I think they just opened up more cans of worms by having that ending and killing all the Jedi and wiping May's mind and Osha becoming, an apprentice. I think that's just like you left the last chapter completely open for someone else to write up. So that's where my problem is with it. If it was just we're going to tell you a story as to what the fall of the Jedi, how it originated, right? Then I would be like, okay. But I don't think it was really the fall of the Jedi. I think it was just that happened like a little bit of a spark for like, all right, four Jedi lied about a mission. And this person that they brought into their ranks ends up destined to be a part of the Sith. Maybe. Maybe. She's an apprentice, so who knows if she's even really got what it takes. But I did have a little bit of an issue with the Rey factor of like, so Osha, even though she trained as a Jedi, she really grabbed on to that talent really quick once she was with Chimera. And so I just found that kind of convenient.
Well, she
So
spent
just
decades as a Jedi,
yeah,
and
but
was
she hadn't done
also,
it in years. Just like probably the same amount of time as like Obi-Wan, right?
I mean, it's said that she had spent some time outside of the order, but um, I would reframe your thoughts on this as the fall of the Jedi. I would call this story the fall of Osha, right? Because that's the journey.
Who
That's the
gives a
story.
shit who OSHA is, though? Who
It's
cares?
but that's the thing. It doesn't matter who it is. You get to see but let me hear me out. You get to see the seduction and the fall of a a promising Padawan where the Jedi came in with intent, and that intent was executed poorly. And they tried, and the hubris of one Jedi who demanded to train somebody, and the Jedi trying to interfere created what is their own worst enemy, right? In
Let
the
me
Sith.
hold on. I got to stop you right there because she was not promising. She failed the test.
No, she
And
passed the test. May Force failed the test.
no, 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 no. She failed the test. If you go back and watch that, it was and forgive me for Carrie On Moss's character, Indara. Indara basically projects it to Soul that she passed the test. That's how I took it. So she
I
didn't pass. They just brought her along because Saul just wanted to be a dad to somebody.
well,
That's how I picked that up and I interpreted it because she did like this weird little force type of focus type thing as she was taking the test. And then Saul comes back and like she passed the test. Like, yeah, she did. And she wasn't like she kind of was hesitant about that. So that's how I thought that happened. So I don't know. I'd be curious to see your thoughts on that. And I didn't look it up as if, like if that was
yeah.
the truth, but that's how I viewed it.
I mean, they showed her using the Force, and she was observed doing it. That the whole witches cult thing was still a version around it. That so they took somebody with high potential and insane. I think they did do the blood test, right? They did the midichlorians,
Yeah.
which
They did say that. They
yeah,
didn't say
yeah,
midichlorians, but
yeah,
the
yeah,
MC count, is that what they said?
yeah. MC count.
Yeah.
They got it in
MC.
there. But either
Hammer.
way, like they found they took a high potential possible Jedi. Um,
Which in my opinion she wasn't.
no, again, like um it's all about intent, failure, and seduction, right? And them going in thinking they're doing something good, but really being destructive. And the example of this tale is quantifiable in that it had to happen more often throughout the order, and it showed kind of the failure of the Jedi. And it doesn't have to be the start of the dominoes to everything. It's really an example of hubris and 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 failure. And that's fine. Like, just encapsulate it, show an example of it. It doesn't have to be the full story. And that's the part that I may be too accepting on. But I mean, I grew up, the Return of the Jedi came out like the year I was born. So I had no additional Star Wars other than books until 97, right? So when I was in high school. So through all of those years, it was books or 3 movies. And since, there's just been so much more added to it. Does it matter that it's not a book? If this show was just a book in the EU, would people have been so angry about it? That's the thing. You're just getting more story. Enjoy that you're getting more story. How many people are pissed off at George R. R. Martin because he won't write a book that covers topics that they've already seen in a movie? Right? Just differently. Write it different, but better. Like, just shut up. Something's written. Enjoy art. Enjoy the thing and move on. Like, geez, it's
So
it frustrates me that people are so dismissive of this because we spent 30 years asking for more of it, and we're getting more of it. But no, I just don't want it that way. How dare you? I like my steak well done, please. Like, that's what I hear in my ear when people bitch about, well, this just doesn't follow canon perfectly. Canon changes. Canon changes.
yeah, but what doesn't change is the fact that this is an incomplete story. So I will still say that that's the case, and that's a knock against it because I don't necessarily want to see more of this, and that might be tipping my hat as to if I can do this all day, but don't care about the characters, and the ones that I did care about are dead. So
Ah,
the only one that I'm interested in is Manny Jacinto's character Chimere, if that's how you pronounce
yeah.
it, or but that's the only one that I'm interested in. Maybe some Plagueis, but if there's a rule of two, well, someone's got to die, and it's probably going to be him, not OSHA. So, but you know what? I'm cool if Plagueis just kills both of them. It's like, I'm gonna get a real, I'm gonna get a real apprentice, someone who really can and hang with me. Like that's just where I need an old shriveled up white guy. That's what that's good. That's gonna happen for Plagueis's
I,
apprentice.
I
So
think that if you look at what a sequel could be with this and what it could explore, there's very interesting topics, like you're saying, right? How does Plagueis enforce the rule of two? Is Plagueis's master still alive, or has he already killed him? Right? Is this Plagueis's start to finding his own apprentice and then overtaking the Jedi that trained him and killing him? You know,
maybe.
is this Plagueis's way of learning and studying emergence in the Force, which is the same thing that created Anakin? Is this how they say that Plagueis created Anakin?
Is the Vergence what created Anakin?
So that's the yes. There's no father, the immaculate conception situation. There's I don't know if there's a book or if there's some things out there, but where they said that Plagueis was the one that did it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Right? Plagueis created the midichlorian concentration that spawned Anakin. Right? So there's
Interesting.
there's and that's I don't know if that's legends or canon. Oh my god, if it becomes both, then everything's gonna break.
So
Because
this
again,
Coven of Witches is basically just like rendered useless then because there's no one else out there that
well, they're
was like
dead.
them. So
But there's
pointless story.
different coverings
It's-
of witches. but that's a tangential coven of witches, right? Because there's the
Sure.
witches on Dathomir. There's these witches. Like the Force is one thing, and many people use it in different ways. But
Be
the
interesting
Force
to
is the thing.
see. Yeah, I think if you bring in another Coven of Witches or even like a, a gaggle of priests, whatever you want to
Ooh,
call them, right? Like
some monks.
you'll just end up getting more hate for Star Wars, and I
And
totally
anything
understand
they
as to
do
why.
that's new, anything they do that's new,
Yeah,
they get hate.
yeah, but I don't know, man. I think we've talked a little bit about it. Anything else in terms of the characters? I thought, did you have like a character that you were just like, who cares about this character? Any
That
character Martha you?
um, I mean, that one Jedi that ended up like escorting her back and getting killed. Um, oh my God, what's his name?
Fandar,
Yeah, the new
Yord,
guy, Yord.
Yord.
Yord, I was like,
Oh, I liked Yord
yeah,
because
I was
he's
happy
trying
that
to
Yord
be
got
like
killed.
the by the books type of
Yeah.
Jedi, where
Mhm.
it's like, oh, I'm a Jedi. This should like I'm okay with that because that's kind of like how they are. Like I need to follow these rules. But the one that Marthaed me was is it Torben? Is Torben the meditating dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, couldn't care less.
But
Just
you
like
got to know why he was meditating.
I'm so sad. I want to go home. And then he goes home. It's like, I'm so sad that I did this stuff. Now that I'm home, I'm just gonna sit here and meditate. Like, all right, dude. Yep, you're another example of why the Jedi suck because they got pussies like you there that just can't deal with
Oh,
things. Like, ah, that's it, man.
so angry. So angry
Corbin.
you are.
I am because I am just I totally see where Chimere is coming from. So sign me up, man. Sign me up to be an apprentice because
Oh,
these Jedi seem to be awful people.
yikes. Yikes. So that just begs the question then, right? After this, with all of your anger and all of your hate, can you do this all day?
I liked the show after the first couple episodes because there was a whole lot of new possibilities, right? And I'm all for it because I don't know all the lore and some of the stuff just was kind of new to me. And then I did pick up some of the little Easter eggs on stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. I can appreciate this. But when it comes to the show as a whole, all the people that and I have to view this as if we're treating this as another just a part one of a series because you can't line this up or you can't end this the way that they line this up, right? Without coming up with a new season or incorporating into something else. So I will say that I cannot do this all day because I don't care to see OSHA progress. I don't care what happens to May. Doesn't matter to me because I just didn't care about those characters. Um, I understood where they were coming from, but at the same time, there's no emotional connection for them at all whatsoever. Even their moment is the sisters, like, well, so they're not sisters, so really they're like, what do I care? If they're, I'm bound by you, you're bound by me, whatever. Throw all that shit out. You're the same person. You're just I think it would have been better off that's like, well, one person is Sith material, one person is Jedi material. I would have been okay with that. But then they said, like, yeah, they're the same person. Nah, don't buy it. Don't buy it. Don't understand it. Don't care because I don't care about those two characters. Um, the Jedi that I did like, Indara, dead in her first scene for the most part. And then Soul, who, he had a little bit of back and forth. I was waiting for like the Saul, like, oh, he's a real bad guy. Like, no, he's not. They made it seem, or maybe it was his acting and his delivery of some of his lines that made it seem like, oh, he could be a bad guy. But no, he was just trying to do the right thing. He was just trying to be not like a Jedi, but try to protect the kids, or at least Osha. And that's what I saw. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I was eager to see each episode, but can I do it all day? No, no. In the grand scheme of Star Wars, I was okay. I'll watch Ahsoka all day, but definitely not this.
Hmm.
But I must return the favor. Mark, when it comes to the Acolyte, can you do this all day?
I'm gonna say yeah. I really enjoyed it. I don't care that they don't, if they pursue it or if they don't pursue it. I like that it's a thing. I like that it's a thing. And I like that it tells a story and has, compelling emotional elements, that there's some twist to it. And that, I mean, it gives us some pretty awesome lightsaber fights. And, came for the Star Wars, stayed for the lightsaber fights, and enjoy the back and forth that could be. So yeah, no, I'm all about it. I'd watch it again.
Well, there you have it, folks. That wraps up another episode. But one of the things that we want to make sure that we do is provide you solid content, entertainment. So please chime in on the socials. But until next time, this is Dan, the part-time Avenger. That's Mark, the resident Jedi.
Don't forget, like Dan said, like, subscribe, send us your comments. I can do this all day podcast on everything from a socials perspective. And when you put your comments in there, remember, fear leads to anger, and anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. We're not going to suffer your comments, but just be nice.
Or
Don't be.
don't. And I'll retort back with something ridiculous anyways.
Hate, hate,
But
hate, 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 hate.
we'll see you next time, everybody.